The 49ers and Jauan Jennings agreed to a revised contract that can earn him some extra money in his final year, but how much will he play in week 1 against Seattle? We'll discuss that and more on today's 49 Carats podcast. Here we go.
You're listening to the 49 Carats podcast, a 49ers Goldmine production with Stephanie Sanchez.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome to another edition of the 49 Carats podcast. I'm your host, Steph. It is Thursday, September 4th, and welcome to the 49K Third and Thursday show with my weekly Thursday guest of the 2025 season, Wayne Breezy. Wayne, how you doing, man?
Woo! I am recharged. I'm not rejuvenated, but I'm definitely recharged. I wish I was feeling young again, but I'm excited, man. Niners football is back. NFL is back. It kicks off tonight. We get to watch some NFC East teams beat themselves down to a bloody pulp, so that's good for us. But no, I'm just super excited that 49ers football is back, and the drama is put behind us, and now it's time to activate, fully activate.
Well, best of all, Wayne, we get to see the Cowboys lose tonight. I mean, I think we're all looking forward to that.
Yeah,
right?
I kind of want both of them to lose. I know that's impossible, but Cowboys are going to go down. That's, what's crazy though? He has a crazy winning percentage. He's 9-4 against the freaking Eagles, like Dak Prescott. When he plays them, he beats them. That's the weirdest thing.
That is very surprising. I mean, he's kind of going to be a one-man show operating that offense.
Well, as long as him and CeeDee Lamb activate, I'm Gucci, man. I need CeeDee Lamb to catch about 6 touchdown passes. And for fantasy football kicks off tonight.
There we go. It sure does. And I have a few Philly players as well, so I'll be locked in.
That's right.
But Wayne, let's talk about the Niners here. So, and most importantly, Jauan Jennings, who got an agreement reached with the 49ers. So he got a reworked deal for the final year of his contract. As reported by Adam Schefter, he has the ability to earn up to $3 million in playtime incentives this season. So instead of earning $7.5 million, he has a chance to earn up to $10.5 million. And Wayne, before I say anything else, this was a funny series of tweets because as Adam Schefter reported this, he probably tweeted 5 different things about this contract. And I'm like, it's never been more obvious that, the agent is feeding you this information and kind of telling you what to say, giving you the little nudge, especially with this next tweet here, which then read, once Jauan Jennings got healthy and began recovering from his calf injury, negotiations with the 49ers picked up and resulted in an agreement. Jennings turned down a multi-year deal to do a 1-year deal and bet on himself. And of course, he's scheduled to become a free agent after this. So Wayne, give me your thoughts on this, quick fix Band-Aid of a reworked deal. And then also Jennings turning down a multi-year deal with the 49ers.
Yeah, I think to me, that's what's most important, right? The fact that the Niners offered a multi-year deal. And of course, there's reports out today. John Lynch spoke on KNBR talking about, they're still looking to get a long-term deal done with Jauan Jennings. So, hey, to me, him turning down that is most important because something tells me that whatever the Niners offer was just wasn't substantial enough for Jauan Jennings. And he might have felt like it was kind of like a shot in the face or something like that, or slap in the face. So I'm glad that he decided to agree on a pay bump based on incentives. Not a lot of players would like to do stuff like that, but when a player is willing to go all in on themselves and bet in on themselves, you know what I'm saying? This is great news because now Jauan Jennings, can go out there and really earn an extra $3 million on the last year of his contract, and he becomes the free agent. And I think most people don't understand what it's like to become a free agent because we don't play football or basketball or whatever. We don't play a sport. We don't know what it's like to be free from a contract. But coming from a music industry background, being free, there's no feeling like it, and you want to enjoy it as long as you can until you sign that next deal. So I like it. I think it's really good for the team, and it's good for him. And so now he's suited up, and he's going to be suited up and ready to ball out. And let's just hope Jauan Jennings finally breaks those 1,000 yards. And if he does, he's good as gone. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it was great seeing you. Like, he'll get picked up by a different team. They'll offer him more money, and he'll be out.
Well, I am a fan of, the $3 million that he has a chance to get. It's very much, okay, let's get this out of the way. Let's focus on football now. We'll get you back out there. I think for Jauan Jennings, the incentive for him to turn down a long-term deal, which we can only assume was a modest long-term deal from the 49ers, if we had to guess, right? I think is the fact that he feels that he can earn more. The reports were that he wanted $20 million APY. Now, whether or not that's true or not, it was probably more than what the 49ers were willing to pay him with the long-term deal. So turning that down is like, he has to play this year in order to kind of prove that he's worth whatever he was asking for, not just for the 49ers, but for other teams as well. And I think we got to have age as part of the factor in all of this as well, because, he's not that young. He turned 28 in July. So, around this time next year, he'll still be 28. But, going into the season, he'll be 29 for potentially another team if he does sign with another team in free agency. So I can't imagine there's a lot of teams that would dish out a lot of money for a 29-year-old wide receiver, a career wide receiver 3. In this case, he can operate as a wide receiver 2 or 1 for much of the season, at least until Brandon Ayuk is out. So that's an opportunity for Jennings to prove himself out again. For a guy who, former 7th-round pick, he's been proving himself his entire career, So I feel for him. I do want him to get a bag. But, Wayne, I don't know if I want that bag to come from the 49ers. I'll tell you why. I just think the 49ers have had a plan in place where they don't need to continue paying for wide receivers. You gave the bag to Brandon Ayuk. I think that's most definitely deserved. You're kind of going to build this wide receiver room around him. You drafted Ricky Pearsall in the first round, I think with the intention of him kind of being that second pillar of your wide receiver room, much like Deebo Samuel was all those years. But you don't want to keep paying all these guys. And so I'd be surprised, honestly, even despite what John Lynch is saying here, that he would like to work on a long-term deal with Jauan. I'd be surprised if they do actually find a way to keep him around, unless, of course, it is a deal that's cheap. But I can't imagine Jauan, agreeing to that right now.
Yeah, look, this could get very interesting. I talked about this last night on Nitty Gritty Niners Talk, and it could get interesting. I'll leave it at that, because I do know from the time I've been watching football, and I've seen a lot of football in my time, and I've seen a lot of players go through stuff like this and play on incentives, especially wide receivers. I feel like they get shaded the most when they do these incentive-based types of deals, and that the ball doesn't get thrown their way. They don't make a certain amount of receptions or touchdowns or yards or whatever, because they're not in control of what happens. And so this could be a way that they do keep him long term, because the team is going to go like, you didn't really do much in 2025. And the Niners are like, hey, man, you want to come back for like $2?
Right.
So this can get tricky. I will say that. But look, Jauan Jennings, hell of a guy, hell of a player. Whether you want to say he's a wide receiver 1, 2, or 3, good thing is he can play all of them. Just don't have him as a Z back out there. He does not need to line up in the backfield whatsoever. He just does not have the agility or the speed to do that. But X and Y, he can play both. And there will be teams, though, Steph, that just has money. And that's what we see. And to agree with you, the Niners drafted Jordan Watkins. They drafted Ricky Pearsall. They still got to figure what's going on with Jacob Cowan. You know what they're going to do in 2025? But probably 2 of those draft picks, they're going to draft 2 more wide receivers. Like I think the Niners understand what they're doing. They paid the guy that's an X, and now they're probably going to allow that contract to wither itself out. Unfortunately, Brandon Ayuk got injured, and so now we just need to give him time to recover and see if he comes back. and it's just as dynamic as he was before he got injured. But that's the one wide receiver. Most teams in the NFL, most normal teams will pay the one wideout. It's part of the formula. Most of them will. The Niners had that luxury because they didn't have to pay a quarterback yet, but now Brock's paid, and his big money won't come off the cap for about a year or two. Brandon Ayuk's big factors are going to start kicking in another year. Nick Bosa going to take up a chunk of the cap. So things are going to – they just won't be able to afford a Jauan Jennings unless it is wide receiver 3 money.
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's like why with everything that the 49ers pretty much told us about this offseason and them having to force themselves pretty much to not pay a lot of players who are set to be free agents and, keep it kind of frugal, which I understand. I see the vision for why they wanted to do that right now. It just doesn't make sense to then pay Jauan Jennings. And so I don't know if it's just John Lynch saying that or if they truly feel like they can it makes sense for them. But looking at the current landscape of the wide receiver room, you got Brandon Ayuk, who of course is on the PUP list, but he is going to be part of this team going forward and a focal point. He's going to be the one with the bag. Ricky Pearsall is going to be part of this team, hopefully with a larger role this season. We got Jauan Jennings, who at least for 2025, we know he's going to be part of this offense. Demarcus Robinson, I guess we'll see, what he looks like after his suspension is over. But based on what I saw in, camp, I think he's going to be pretty involved and be pretty reliable for Brock Purdy. So you also have Marquez Valdes-Scantling, who they signed. I don't know if he'll be here beyond 2025. I have a hard time envisioning that, but you still want to see what you have with Jacob Cowing, even though you haven't really gotten a chance to see much of him quite yet. So maybe that's like the one that's teetering on, well, we're really not sure about this guy, so maybe we should bring Jauan Jennings back. Jordan Watkins has been hurt. We'll see how his rookie season pans out once he's healthy. I liked what I saw from Jordan Watkins. If he turns up to be someone who looks like a guy who could grow into this offense, then I don't think you need a guy like, Jauan Jennings. You don't need a long-term deal for him. And then you got Sky Moore, of course, who I think as far as special teams and when he brings you as a return man, fine. He could have a spot on this roster. But then the practice squad, like there's no one really on the practice squad where I'm just like, yeah, this is a guy who can develop into, you don't have a lot of young guys. Like the youngest guy here on this list between Gage, Chosen, and Malik Turner, Junior Bergen, right? Like that's the only guy. And he's so small. I don't know if he'll ever, turn up to be someone who makes the 53. So there's still a lot of questions I have about this wide receiver room, which kind of does make me think, okay, I could see why they'd want to sign Jennings to a long-term deal and just not have to worry about the wide receiver position anymore, especially because they have other needs.
Yeah.
But
like it's time to address the offensive line.
It's time to address the offensive line.
The offensive line is of age, right? Like it's about that time, and I can see that happening. But I do want to touch on this because these wide receivers, I love this breakdown, right? And so you look at Brandon Ayuk, he has 2 years left on his deal, or 1 year, this year, next year, or something like that. Demarcus Robinson, he signed a 2-year deal. He's coming back next year. They're not going to get rid of him. And so that's why I think Jauan Jennings, I do feel like the Niners are looking, when they say multi-year, I'm thinking it's a 2-year deal. Like I'm thinking the Dre Greenlaw of the wide receiver position. I'm thinking that is what they offer. That's what they kind of reached out to offer Jauan Jennings. And so $10.5 million this year is what he can make. I think he's probably looking to make 15 probably million. I think we heard the reports. I think the Niners want to keep him in the $10 to $15 million per year range. So we'll see what happens. But I will say this, out of all those players on this list, there'll never be a Jauan Jennings. Like that kid's makeup and DNA to play in Kyle Shanahan's offense is uncanny. No one blocks the way he does. And I love Brandon Ayuk, and I don't even think Brandon Ayuk's a great run blocking wide receiver, but man, no one's going to be able to do what Jauan Jennings does. And so I think that's why he's vital to this offense. He may go somewhere else and be a wide receiver like, well, we didn't use him that way. Like, you know what I mean? Yeah. So I can see him in Tennessee. They got bread. I can see him in Jacksonville. They got bread. You know what I'm saying? I can see him in those places where they people got money. So we'll see what happens. And Jacob Cowing, I mean, just looking at him being on the IR, I wouldn't be surprised if I don't want to say red shirts another year, but I wouldn't be surprised if he's that expendable piece. I just hope he doesn't turn out to be the Drake Jackson of the wide receiver position. You know what I mean?
Gray. You know, like there's so many examples of guys that just don't pan out because they can't stay on the field.
Health-wise, yes.
Whether it's the doghouse in his rookie year to now, this injury that obviously, puts him behind the 8 ball to get back on track. But I'm not counting him out yet. But that is definitely one thing that could make this decision difficult or easy for the 49ers in terms of what they do with Jauan Jennings. But we have the full season, hopefully, of Jauan Jennings to kind of make that decision and get a full feel for what this wide receiver room may look like in the future. But as it pertains to week 1, Wayne, I mean, as far as Jauan Jennings' availability, well, yesterday in practice, he was limited. Kyle Shanahan did say that they're ramping him up, which I think is good. You don't want him going from 0 to 60. So that's why he was limited yesterday, as was Pooney, as was Jordan James. So all signs point to Jauan Jennings being available for Sunday. In fact, Kyle Shanahan did indicate that he's ready to play football. The question is, how much involvement is he really expected to have in this week 1 game? I don't think he's quite ready for the full share of snaps quite yet. So what kind of role could you envision for Jennings in this week 1 matchup?
Role, schmo, whatever. That's Jauan Jennings. He's a professional. He didn't practice much last year, and look how he turned out. I just feel like he missed damn near all the training camp. Guess what? With a calf injury last year, I wouldn't be surprised, though, if Jauan Jennings is the matchup nightmare. And they try to abuse Devin Witherspoon. Devin Witherspoon is one of my favorite DBs and players in the league. I've been following him since Big Ten football. He went to Illinois. I hated that he got drafted by the Seahawks. And the kid is phenomenal. But now he's got to go up against a big physical guy. This is where you don't need Jauan. You put him in a slot, let him run a slant. He's gonna be hey Brock, just throw the ball. Let him catch it and let him just put a knee to the helmet of a Devin Witherspoon. Like I think Jauan Jennings will be utilized in the slot on some of the slot snaps. And because I know what you mean. What you're saying is right. He's definitely he technically shouldn't be in football shape yet. He hasn't did anything. Yeah, but he has been practicing
since Monday.
I mean, he's been near in the facility. I'm sorry, he's been near and doing stuff on the sideline, but he hasn't done any of the team stuff and things like that. And so I get it. He's not in football shape, and we know when players are in football shape, they tend to drop passes. They can't get open. They tend to be out of wind. Like, you know what I mean? Maybe Jauan Jennings is just a different animal. He doesn't run that fast anyway. So, I mean, you don't need the speed. I don't know. I just know if I'm Kyle Shanahan, I'm putting him in the slot. That's where he does the most of his damage. That's where I'll put him, and I'll mismatch, take advantage of that small lineup DB out there in Devin Witherspoon, who plays big, by the way. Like, Devin Witherspoon reminds me of Upton Stout. Like that's Upton Stout reminds me of Devin Witherspoon.
Well, this could all just be like some gamemanship happening from Kyle Shanahan. We know he does this, right? Like, we're easing him in, kind of indicating he might not have the full set of snaps, but
I'm okay with that.
Then he has almost all of them.
Well, it's funny you said that because I said to Peachy last night, I said, hey, he might not play all the snaps, but I wouldn't be surprised if he's like the most targeted and comes with the and has the most receptions and finishes with the most yards. Like, you know what I mean?
Back to Jauan Jennings, like
wow. and here we go. Get all the incentives in week 1, right? And get that $3 million early.
Exactly, especially after like how last year ended.
Right.
He was so close.
25 yards. 25. Yeah. Somebody about to get 25 yards put on him in one play. I don't know who it is, but somebody gonna get it in one play.
Yes, and as Technic says, aside from Jennings wondering how MVS and Gage will split their roles, Shanahan said there might be a possibility that both are active for Sunday. I think both definitely will probably be active for Sunday. I mean, MVS is
He's
for
already active
sure
because
going
he's
to,
on the
yeah,
rock. He's on the
he's for
roster.
sure
They would
going
have to
to be
call up
active.
Gage Techniques Chic. I think that's how you say it.
Yep,
Technique Chic.
techniques.
All right, so he would have to be called up, which we have. When Steph showed the graphic, we have 3 vets at wide receivers. They will be in the circle of musical chairs, like because Kyle gets to bring those guys up like 2 or 3 times per season, and so
Right. Yep.
Kyle's going to play the game. And if you heard Kyle speak at the presser, he understands the game. That's another thing we don't talk about. I think Kyle like fully understands the rotation, the game of the IR, the practice squad. Like it's a whole nother monster other than calling football plays and stuff like that. And so I think Kyle's got a better grip on that, in my opinion. So you're right. You wouldn't be surprised. I mean, you're gonna have to, because I'm looking at this list. No Ayuk, Ricky, Jauan, if he's limited. No DeMarcus. MVS we talked about. No Jacob Cowing. No Jordan Watkins. Jordan Watkins won't play this week. He'll be inactive. No. So you're telling me Sky Moore, Ricky Pearsall, and Jauan Jennings and MVS are my I need 5. So it's probably going to be Gage or Chosen.
Yeah, I think it's definitely going to be Gage. I liked what I saw from him in camp. Just someone who's been very reliable. So
I just want to make sure he's fully healthy though, because remember he had that injury. They said 10 days. I'm just saying, if he's fully cleared and healthy, yeah, it should be Gage. If not, put Robbie Chosen out there, because Robbie Chosen had probably one of the best preseason football I've seen in a long time from 49ers wide receivers. And that kid came in late because he was one of the latest additions. Him and Malik Turner were the latest additions to the wide receiver room.
And Chosen, to his credit, did look a lot better on this team this offseason than
absolutely
he did the year prior. So
yeah.
But as far as MVS and Chosen goes, I think the role that they would occupy with the 49ers is similar. Yeah.
You
know, just the guy the deep threat, the guy that stretches the field. So I think he's kind of waiting in the wings if there is another injury. But and you also have Sky Moore, who, like we said, he'll definitely be active just because of the return ability that he's going to have. But also you have Garindo, who can do that too. So
true. But we'll see how they utilize Garindo. But I think Sky Moore and Ricky Pearsall, not comparing the two, but the role, I think they kind of split the Joker role, right? So, like, how do you use these guys? Do you line them up in the backfield? Do you line them up this way? I think we're going to see some interesting things from Clay. Did I get his name right? Because they get Clay and Clint. We got Clay and Clint. We got the brothers coaching in this game, believe it or not.
That's true. Yeah. Underrated storyline in all of
right, the Kubiaks.
As we had it week 1, the Kubiaks, the Cubes. But yeah, as far as who else is trending to be unavailable, we already talked about Jordan Watkins. He has not been practicing this week. Yetur Gross-Matos,
he's not going to
still not practicing either. So yeah, he's definitely not going to play.
Can I ask you this question though?
Yeah.
How does this make you scratch your head though? Because they took him off the PUP, which they did not have to. He made the active 53, and now, like,
Wayne's freezing for me. Is he freezing for you guys? I am not hearing Wayne. You guys hearing Wayne, or am I frozen? Live chat, let me know. How we doing? All right. Not seeing any responses in. Okay, so looks like Wayne is freezing. I'm gonna give Wayne a moment here. Maybe he'll come back really quickly. Just gonna wait to see if he's good. Thank you, live chat. It's a bit of a delay there, but he dropped, so gonna wait for him to come back. While Wayne is getting back in here, gonna answer Peachy's question. Steph, who do you think will be the breakout player on offense and defense for this game? I don't want to give a very typical answer. I do think an obvious breakout player Christian McCaffrey, right? I mean, I think he's going to take back the throne as the focal point of this offense, come Sunday. But I think outside of Christian McCaffrey, want to think of someone else. And I'm going to go with Ricky Pearsall. I would not be surprised if Ricky Pearsall has the first touchdown of Sunday's game. My second choice would be George Kittle, but I think everyone thinks that George Kittle will get more targets. I think he will this season. But if the 49ers are in the red zone, I think Kittle's going to get a lot of attention just because, hey, he does tend to score some touchdowns in the red zone, and he does tend to score against Seattle as well. He's had some good stat lines against them. So I think the Seahawks are going to be prepared for Kittle, and he'll be a focal point for their defense. I think Ricky Pearsall has the opportunity to get loose in this game, show a little bit more of that chemistry that he has with Brock Purdy. Now on the defensive side, let's see here. On the defensive side, I think Lenore turns up when he goes up against the Seahawks. And, you guys remember he was bummed that DK Metcalf was traded away from Seattle to go to Pittsburgh because he loved to go up against DK Metcalf, always getting in his head, always locking him down. I mean, and he had some things to say about Jackson Smith and Jigba as well. And so I think he's looking forward to going up against him in this matchup and potentially locking him up in this game. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see Demo get a pick in this one as well. I could definitely see it because, man, for some reason, not just for some reason. I think for the same reason we kind of hate the Seahawks, I think Demo hates the Seahawks as well. And while we're on the topic, still waiting for Wayne to come back. While we're on the topic, we've got this year's captains, and it's pretty much the same from last year, except instead of Debo, who's no longer on the team, obviously, you got Demo, who locks up that final 8th spot for team captain this year. Aside from that, you still got Purdy, you got Warner, you got Kittle, you got Trent, you got Bosa, you got CMC, you got Juice. So that Demo rounds out this list of captains for the season, and I like it. I think Demo definitely deserves this role. I think he's really coming to his own as a player, as a leader on this team. So I definitely love it. But curious to know what you guys think about breakout players for this 49ers for this 49ers team on Sunday. Let me check in on Wayne. He said his internet is bugging. We'll give him a few minutes to get back here. I've been there with my internet bugging, but you guys remember I used to have Xfinity? I think it was Xfinity that I used to have. Awful. Would not recommend. This is a de-sponsorship message or de-influencing message. Don't get Xfinity, because if you do live streaming, they will do you wrong. All right, let me get to some of these other comments again while we wait for Wayne to come back. Appreciate all of you in the live chat. Make sure you like this video if you haven't yet. All right, some of you agree with me. You guys are going with Ricky as well. 49er Media going with Ricky. Matthew says Ricky about to have a massive season. I most definitely agree with that one. Jax is excited to see Ricky. Yeah, how about this? We just saw this coming across. I have Twitter notifications on for a lot of the, typical media folks that break news. I was getting a bunch of notifications, and I was like, what is going on right now? I look over and I see Amari Cooper has decided to retire. Did he not just sign with the Raiders like last week? That's all it took, huh? 1 week with the Raiders. I don't love football anymore. He's gone. That'll do it for him. So Amari Cooper, done with football. Best of luck to the Raiders. Maybe they should get a deal done with Myers and, have a better wide receiver situation there. Yeah, Matthew agrees with Demo being a defensive stud on this one right now. All right, Wayne's coming back. We'll give him a second. 49er Media said, Steph, prepare for a speech from Breezy about his internet. He was pissed yesterday as well about his internet. All right, we got Wayne back in the house. Wayne, before you say anything, who is your internet provider?
Do you really want to know?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, it's the piece of Frontier. Listen, I'm not, you know what though? You know what? I'm gonna fall back today. It's not my platform, but if this is my platform, it'll be a whole bunch of these words going on right now. But let me just say this. It may not be them. It may not be them.
Oh.
It may be this third-party device that I have hooked up that I bought off of Amazon to have multiple, hook up multiple things. That may be going out. So it may not be the internet. So what I did is I resetted it and I plugged it directly into their router, and I'm just got one thing hooked up. So let's see what happens. If I freeze up, then we're gonna get some of these words. I promise you, we're gonna come back at Frontier. Trash.
I've heard of Frontier Internet before. See, I've heard of Frontier Airlines, and so Peachy here is Frontier like Spirit Airlines for internet. Is that
Yes. Okay. Yes, Frontier. They got cable. They have internet. And see, the thing is, they're the only ones that offer the optical whatever. I just should have fiber. There.
Yeah, fiber's superior.
Yep. So not to derail your show, my apologies, faithful 49 Carat family. My bad. It's me. It's me. So maybe it's that box and it's just burning out because when you buy stuff that's kind of like not name brand, don't last as long.
You get what you pay for.
There you go.
But
I think it's burning out. That's the only thing because my computer kept going in and out. But that my computer's hooked up to that thing. So I unhooked it from that. Let's see what happens. What I miss, but other than me freezing up.
Well, we did go on to talk about just a couple players that we think could have breakouts for Sunday. On offense, I said Ricky Pearsall. I didn't want to give the typical answer for McCaffrey. And on defense, I said Demo because I think Demo just like
Steph just called me typical. Him. Okay, that's cool.
I didn't call you typical.
Yes, you did because last night that was my player. I said it was going to be Christian McCaffrey. Why? The return of McCaffrey. That is huge. It's huge.
Yeah, I'm 100% agree.
It's huge. But you went with Ricky. You went with Slick Rick. I love it because
wanted to switch it up.
You can't tell me that one preseason, that series, he didn't look smooth. He looked like butter out there on the football field. Like he was smooth, and I loved every single part of it. It was like Brock was throwing the spots. That's the difference between this year's Brock and last year's Brock. I think that's going to be the difference. But offensively, I like Ricky.
And the difference, Wayne, between where Ricky's at this point.
Good point.
He knows where to be now.
Good point. Right.
I think he has a better feel for the timing, so it does look like butter
out there. I think that's my keys to victory. Oh, we are in sync. Let's go.
Let's go, Wayne. And then I also mentioned that Amari Cooper decided to retire.
He retired
this morning.
First of all, he was already retired. I don't know why they thought to even bring him out of retirement. The Raiders are stupid. And so the Raiders continue to be dumb. And look, Raiders, I tell you what, Raiders continue to be Raiders. Please. That was dumb. And then they're going to complain he looked fat and slow. Well, I mean, he ain't been playing football for a few months. I mean, he hasn't even been training. He already retired. So I said that to say, didn't we dodge a bullet right there?
Wayne, if there's any team that's going to make a player realize, you know what, I'm just not in love with football anymore, it's going to be the Raiders. It's going to be the Raiders. That's what you missed, Wayne, while you were gone. But we had a grand old time regardless. But, Wayne, earlier you said something that I think was a good segue, and I'm going to return to that segue now.
McKivitz, baby. Let's talk about this offensive line.
He knows where I'm going. He knows where I'm going. So you did talk about the fact that the 49ers have to address this offensive line. You talked about the fact that they're aging. Yes, indeed. The 49ers do have the oldest offensive line in the NFL this season by combined age. I think it's like 151, right? And of course, Trent Williams doing the heavy lifting here, as he does most often with this offensive line. However, in this case, it's like a negative because he's on the older side, but he's still Trent Williams, so we'll forgive him. 37 years old, followed by Jake Brendel, 32, Colton McKivitz, 29, Barch, 27, Pooney, 25. Pooney's going to be a fixture on this
ask you a
offensive
question,
line. Yeah.
Does age at this position, does it bother you as much as it does like the wide receivers, the running backs? Like they have an age where they decline, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
What's that typical age? I mean, I feel like Trent Williams is an outlier because he was made in a lab. But what's that typical age where you feel they might start declining or they may just be ready to give it up? Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Wayne, based on Jake Brendel's age of 32, that might be the
but he was
that
never
might be
right.
the tipping point right there.
That's not fair. That's not he didn't come into the game right. So he was never, you know what I'm saying? And you know what? I tell you what, as long as Brock Purdy is here, Jake Brendel isn't going anywhere. And you know, they're like best friends, and they're in Ariat boot commercials. I think I said that wrong, but damn, like they go golfing. I mean, Jake Brendel was with Brock when Brock got the call on the extension, playing golf. We say that players need to bond together, and there's not a player or two that need to be more together than the center and the quarterback. That exchange is important. I think Jake Brendel's number one job is to hike the ball successfully to Brock Purdy. We agree?
Well, also, he has to set the protections, which is
just complicated. I said his number one job is to make sure that ball gets to the hands of Brock. Sometimes it don't work out like that. Like sometimes the ball slide to the left, slide to the right. Like, you know, so as long as he's got that secure, I think they deal with whatever. I'm not saying we don't need somebody that's better, but it's time. It's time. It's time to address in the draft. We went off defensive line young. I'm all for 4 picks to the offensive line next year. Like,
I mean, we have been, Wayne, but like realistically, we know
early. I'm sorry, early. Like early.
We know this isn't happening though.
Well, yeah, I know.
I mean, we know this isn't happening. We've been asking for that for several years, and we're like, this draft is going to be the one where they finally address the offensive line. It doesn't happen. And so this is where we want to go with this conversation. Colton McKivitz, right? He's playing on the final year of his deal in 2025. Offensive linemen get a bag when they're free agents. If you are a starter in this league, even if you're a bad starter, you get a bag. You get a bag. You get a bag. You get a bag. And honestly, Colton McKivitz hasn't been that bad. I mean, his first year as a starter was pretty bad, but I think aside from that, last year he was pretty average. He was good, I'd say. Most of the time. And I think, he could maybe even be better this year. But I think what that means, Wayne, he's potentially pricing himself out of what the 49ers would be willing to pay. The 49ers don't typically extend their offensive linemen. They kind of just have a guy who's younger or just like a backup that they picked from another team, like waiting in the wings, just some very unassuming player. Mm-hmm. And they plug them in. Sort of like a Ben Barch, but at least Barch is 27. But I could see that scenario playing itself out with Colton McKivitz. However, it does sound like the 49ers do want to extend Colton McKivitz, or at least they have some interest in bringing him into a long-year deal. However, I always say, Wayne, that also means that it's probably a modest deal. And McKivitz is looking at what he could probably get out in the open market because they're just ridiculous, deals for offensive linemen everywhere, that he's like, you know what? I think I'm just going to play it out and see how it goes for me right now. And McKivitz saying he thinks it's, quote, pretty open right now.
I think this is the way that it should be though, right? This is how the Niners, this comes down to players doing their time here, playing out their contract. He was already given the earlier extension, but now it's going to be his time. And I'm not mad when players have to test the market. I'm not mad when players are starting to command a little bit more money. He will never know how much his worth is unless he tests the market. And so I'm not mad at this. For the Niners, they just have to have a plan in place. And if this means that they're going to be looking at this, might force the Niners to look at top tier tackles now, because the Niners are building their ship to where they're looking to compete every single year, and they can't just keep doing it with serviceable men. And so maybe McKivitz doing this will force the Niners and say, hey, well, this is our price. This is what we're paying. And if you got to go, cool. The Niners are going to be developing. I mean, Spencer Burford will have one more year so he can slide over to right tackle. Like, you get what I'm saying? So, like, I don't think this really hurts the Niners. I think that they'll still be able to find guys. They won't spend a lot in free agency. The only time the Niners will do anything like, crazy off the, out of this world is if Trent Williams goes. Then they'll try to find a way to fill that void with top tier talent ASAP, whether it's via trade or if they get to the free agency part. But as far as McKivitz, I'm not saying he's expendable, but you can find another McKivitz.
Yeah, you can. I just think the bar is so low for offensive line play. You can have a starter, someone who starts on another team who's not very good, but he's a starter on that team because just there aren't a lot of good offensive linemen out there. Like, no. It's hard to find some good ones. So even the most basic offensive linemen,
they're going to get paid. Yeah, they're going to get paid. It's just
so that's what I see for McKivitz, and I don't see the 49ers getting into a bidding war for McKivitz. It's just not going to happen. But to your point, Wayne, I think it'll force them to look at potentially a tackle for both sides. I mean, at what point do you look at the eventual replacement for Trent?
Replacing Trent is tough. And so I think from a Niners, because this is what we do when we're literally kind of like scouts. Like, I think the Niners scouts have a type, and
most definitely.
And when they find that type, when that unicorn pops up, I think the Niners will hit the button. But until then, they're gonna ride Trent till the wheels fall off, and hopefully it just doesn't bite them in the butt. I mean, let me be honest with you, Steph. I did not see Joe Staley retiring. I didn't have an inkling. Man. I didn't think it was gonna happen, and it just happened. But the type of person Joe Staley was, he still did his team a solid by letting them know, by communicating. And so the Niners already had the plan in place. I guarantee you, I trust the front office. I trust John Lynch to have a plan in place. Now, if Trent happens to go down this season, we are built the way we are built. So we're going to have to figure it out. Spencer Burford, put the big boy pads on, buddy, because it'll be your time. But again, man, Spencer Burford will be here for one more year. So he's a guy that will probably fill one of these voids if Trent does return. And if Trent doesn't return, he's going to fill a void, I think. And we'll see how well he develops this year as one of the tackles.
Well, you're not wrong, Wayne, that they do have a type. They also have the second lightest offensive line based on combined weight. And
I want those guys to move, though.
Exactly. They have a type. They have a type, and it's guys who are lighter because they want them to be able to move and be athletic. So they could pull them and do all these run blocking things that the 49ers love to do. So yeah, we'll see how the season plays out for Colton McKivitz, but I think no matter how you slice it, he's getting the bag at the end of it. So, good luck to him, I guess. Wayne, one other thing that I want to talk about as far as something Kyle Shanahan said in his presser, right? He was asked if the team had decided on the other starting safety. I think we definitely know that one of them is going to be Jason Pinnock, right? And Pinnock was also listed on the unofficial depth chart. The other safety who was also listed as a starter on the unofficial depth chart, again, unofficial, emphasizing that, was Jair Brown. And, Kyle Shanahan didn't want to reveal who the other starting safety is. gamemanship. He loves to do that. It's officially that time of the year where we're not showing our cards. But Wayne,
he knows though.
He knows. He did say he knows. Do you know, or do you have if you had a guess who the starting safety is going to be, aside from Pinnock, who do you think it is between Brown and Marquez Siegel?
First of all, I don't think anybody. I don't think anyone's grandfathered into anything or anything like that. I just want to put that disclaimer out there. And by me saying that doesn't. I don't think Jair Brown was going to be the starting guy going into this season from the type of season he had last season. I think he had to come in here and compete. Kyle Shanahan did speak about some of his setbacks, and the setbacks when it comes to Jair Brown were injuries.
Mm-hmm.
And so, Marquez Siegel, though, being a young guy, has proven against second strings, third stringers, things like that. He does have the energy. They did draft him. I just don't know if he's going to be fully ready. He is returning from an injury as well, but the hernia. But he played really well. Jair Brown still struggles in certain areas of tackling, certain areas of angleship. Like, he's just not a geometry guy. Like, that's just what it is. Like, he's just angleship, right? He's just not that type of guy. Like, he's just a guy that's willing to make a big play, and if he misses the big play, he's going to give up the big play. I think he starts, though. I think Jair Brown starts. I know people don't want him to. I know people don't. I know. I get it. But I think he's going to be the starter with a leash. And I think they're going to mix some Siegel in there. They're going to sprinkle Siegel because Siegel still has to get acclimated to real football. Like, I get preseason is one thing. And unless you like a first round, second round pick, I'm not expecting you to play. I'm just not, unless you have to, and he doesn't have to. But I do think he will be sprinkled in. Same thing with Upton Stout. I think those guys will get sprinkled in on some plays or whatever, just to get used to the speed of the professional game on the professional level. Hopefully, if Brown is in there though, Steph, he doesn't make the boo boos. That's why I said there's the leash, because the first missed tackle, the first boo boo, not coverage. I felt like he's gotten better in coverage. He was there, and a lot of those plays, I think he gave up a touchdown or two in the preseason, but he was there.
He was there. You know who that reminds me of, Wayne? Ambry Thomas.
Oh my God, no!
That reminds me of Ambry Thomas because, like, He does not. Ambry used to get beat on double moves. There was not. I'm not seeing Jair get beat, but as far as being there, you're right. Yes. He does. He's being there and it not mattering at all.
Yeah.
Because you say to yourself, oh, like it wasn't bad coverage. He was there.
He was there. He
was in position. It just didn't matter.
The ball was just perfectly placed over his head and hands and everything. I mean, the eyes were turned back. He tried to make a play on the ball. He's not athletic as you would think, as far as like the linkyship of the arms. He seems a little tight. Like, you know what I mean? Like, we see players that got freakish abilities when they can move and they can get a fingertip on the ball, like a Richard Sherman or a guy. No.
He's not timing. He's not timing his jumps very well, at least from what we've seen so far. And I think that's part of the struggle. So it kind of gives himself up a little bit, but hopefully that's something that could improve for Jair Brown. I wanted to be Marquez Siegel because I think based on what we saw from him in the preseason, and I get it, it's a preseason, but he just looked like a guy who's ready. The moment doesn't seem too big for him. I think from the mental standpoint, he can probably step right in there and be fine. But I would not be surprised if it's Brown, just because of him being the veteran of the two, and having the short leash. There's no reason to put some of your rookies in a position to lose their confidence so early in the season. Because that's the thing with rookies, right? Like, if they go in there and early in action and they lose some reps, that can get in their head, whereas if it's Jair Brown, I mean, he's taken his lumps before. Worst thing that could happen, Jair Brown, you just take him out and then put in Siegel, who now has a confidence boost because he's like,
trade him. That's
look out for that mid-season trade
mid-season
for
trade.
Jair Brown potentially. But all right, so that's it on Jair Brown. But I want to get into the last segment here, Wayne, before we get out of here. It's a new segment for this weekly show. It's going to be called Third Down Conversions.
Ooh.
All right. So this week, I'm thinking, let's talk about this. 3rd and long. What's the 49ers' biggest challenge this week against Seattle? And I'll go first, Wayne, because I know I sprung this one up on you. But I think the biggest challenge is health and staying healthy throughout the course of the game. I really do think that health is the one thing that could get in their way. And we saw it get in their way last year. If they're healthy, I have no limitations for what this team could turn into, but we see how it can kind of, zap the energy out of this team. And also their depth is kind of non-existent at several positions, right? So that would be the biggest challenge is, can they stay healthy for the entirety of this game and not lose anyone important in this game against Seattle? What do you think is the biggest challenge for the Niners this week?
Man, health, that's a great one. It's hard to manage. These players are going to be playing 0 to 60 harder than they've ever played in their lives. And so players are going to get dinged up, but I agree with you on the health. For me, it's more about the fundamentals. This is week 1. I don't need anyone out there trying to be Superman, offensively or defensively. I need everybody to be playing fundamental sound football offensively, make your blocks, run your routes, you know what I'm saying? Fundamentals, right? I'm not talking about penalties, because to me, penalties are in the discretion of Sean Hockley's and the crew. Out of all the refs, we had to get him first.
No excessive celebrations.
None. Don't pull out don't walk. Just place the ball down at the feet of the referee. Hand the ball. Do whatever you got to do. This is good. This could be crazy. So I think the Niners will be penalized. It's just what we are. But as far as fundamentals, though, defensively, they got to wrap and tackle. I mean, it's not, key victory for me is stopping the run. But if you're not wrapping and tackling, you're not going to stop the run. I'm just going to say this. Kenneth Walker III, Zach Charbonnet are 2 of the hardest running backs healthy in the NFL. They will run through arm tackles. Can't be arm tackling. Gotta put the body, wrap and tackle. No hit tackles either. No big hit. This is not Madden. Wrap and tackle. At least be the first defender to the guy. At least get there, stand him up, and then all other 10 players need to be swarming to that football. You know what I'm saying? So it's fundamentals for me. I want to see how disciplined this team is fundamentally. I do believe if they play fundamentally sound, Steph, this can be, for a young team, it's going to be a tough team to play against every single week. So I'm looking for fundamentals. That'll be my 3rd down conversion.
I like that one. And the chat has some good ones as well. Throwback saying simulated pressures, safeties and run defense, stamina, considering rookies have yet to take snaps on a loud, hostile environment, which may be another reason why you don't start a rookie right away in this game against Seattle. It is a hostile environment, although, the streets are saying 53% of those are supposed to be 49er fans. So maybe it'll be kind of friendly this time around. But even so, that stadium does get really loud. So, maybe you don't want to put them out into the fire that quickly. And you want them to build that game stamina as the season progresses. So no reason to burn them out in the first game. But yeah, missed tackles, good answers here. Now, next one here, Wayne, 3rd and goal. What needs to be the 49ers' biggest goal of week 1 versus Seattle? And Wayne, you kind of hinted at one that I'm going to go with here. I think the biggest goal needs to be defending the run. And you can say that for probably every game, but I think for this one, it's really important. And especially for the 49ers' first game of the season, coming off the season that they had last year, in which they couldn't stop a nosebleed. Defending the run is the one thing I am looking at and of course, fundamentals too, as you mentioned, is a good one too. But stopping the run is a fundamental in football. It needs to be. You can't let Kenneth Walker get loose. I do expect Zach Charbonnet to get some involvement as well. He's a dynamic runner. Force Sam Darnold to have to throw this football. And if he does, good things will probably happen for you. And Robert Saleh can have his defensive line pin their ears back and just get after it. That's going to force some mistakes from Sam Darnold, but you need to stop the run first. Otherwise, you have a confident and comfortable Sam Darnold and Seattle Seahawks offense. So that's my biggest goal for the 49ers in week 1. What about you, Wayne?
Biggest goal, got to score in the red zone. And I'm not talking field goals. Red zone percentage, they struggled in preseason, wasn't good. Last game, it was I think they went 1 for 1, so that bumps up their percentage. But I think they went 1 for 4, Steph, in both prior games. Broncos and forgot who we played second. Raiders. Broncos, Raiders 1 for 4. It's 25%. It's not going to be kicking it. And it's not that I don't want to see Jake Moody get out there, get attempts and shake off whatever he's going through, but I want to see touchdowns. I'm sorry. I need 6 over 3. I take 6 over 3 any day. And so the Niners don't have problems getting into the red zone. They have problems getting the ball into the end zone once they get into the red zone, whether it be a dumbass penalty that puts them out or whatever. So they got to score touchdowns in the red zone, and that's a big thing, because as bad as their run defense was, their red zone offense was just as bad. Like, it was terrible last year.
Ty says, tell him, Wayne, 6 over 3. Yeah, Ty, we don't want to see your boy Jake Moody going out there and messing things up for us. So
Jake Moody will not miss a kick on Sunday. I can promise you that.
Hopefully, because he doesn't have to attempt any, Wayne. Like, that's what we're going for here.
You did it. I'm just saying.
No more dead zone. We got to get it into the red zone. Love that. And red zone defense as well. Yeah, that could be.
Yeah, and so red zone offensively and defensively, 49ers throwback. I do agree. But I like the way that the Niners are built defensively to defend in the red zone. I like the coverage. This is where you would see like your up and stouts. Like, I want all those guys out there. If they allow Seattle to get to the red zone, get to the goal line. And like Steph says, stop the run. That's my number one. That's my keys to victory will be out on Bleacher Report today, and that's my number one. That's one of my top 3 keys. So like, it's crazy, and it's this most simplest thing to say.
Right.
It's one of the hardest things to do, because we can trash their offensive line all we want, but what if that offensive line is more in sync than our young defensive line, and they bully us? Like, that concerns me. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but if that happens, we got to be able to plug that and fix that right away. And Steph already talked about us not having the depth out there. And so now you got guys playing a lot of snaps. You got younger guys coming in. I know I see Khalil Davis over Alfred Collins. I don't know, man. I really feel like it's time to just unleash the hounds with Alfred Collins. Let that young kid go out there. He's built to play football. And if he's healthy, let him play. Let him start. Let him stuff that run. Let him soak up those double team offensive linemen so Fred Warner's cracking the block off of a run. He's filling in the holes. That's what you want. You need your linebackers untouched.
Amen.
You'll have a lot less missed tackles. I can tell you that right now.
I think that's a great way to end this show. A lot of fun on the new segment. Third down conversions. We'll be doing that every week on the Third and Thursday show with Wayne. Wayne, thank you so much for this first one. We'll be doing this all season long, so really appreciate you coming on. Appreciate everyone that's in the live chat as well. You guys kept it popping. Make sure you like this video. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet. Hit that notification bell so you know when we go live, not just on my channel, but Wayne's as well. Audio listeners, leave a rating, leave a review. But for now, folks, have a good rest of your Thursday. We'll be back on tomorrow for a preview show with KP. But for now, folks, talk to you later. Peace.